We're back, we're racing, and we're back for the end of year review for 2019 to summarize the year, look in depth for the drivers, give them a rating, overall how they done in the championship, the teams as well. We're going to be looking forward to 2020 and what the future holds in the sport. So we had the end of year prize giving ceremony. So Lewis Hamilton was presented with the World Drivers' Championship, as well as Mercedes got the Constructors' Trophy there. We saw Fernando Alonso as well with his success in the Le Mans Series. He was up there on stage. But Lewis Hamilton, with a sixth time, he's got that trophy in his hands. And this guy is really going from strength to strength and really relishing the prospect of more battles with this current young crop of drivers, such as Max Verstappen, who, was sublime this year, really ironing out their mistakes in him. And this guy, Alex Albon, just popped out of nowhere, and he's really tearing up the rule book for rookies, I would have to say. But yeah, end of year results. It didn't look like the best of start to the championship. Lewis Hamilton cemented it in them opening rounds there and finished with 413 points. Bottas was strung out the blocks, but came in at 326. Verstappen, the real surprise here. He was in P3 with 278, ahead of both Ferraris of Charles Leclerc on 264, Vettel on 240, Carlos Sainz with a stellar performance there with 96 points. In the constructor standings, Mercedes really walked away with it this year. Due to Ferrari's faults, that once again, Mercedes were just the dominant force when it comes to reliability and just getting the strategies right. It wasn't really like mechanicals or anything like that for Ferrari, but it was just really not optimizing their opportunities when they had them. So, yeah, great season for McLaren. They're really standing out for me as well. The most laps led in this championship, Lewis Hamilton done 511, no doubt. And then Charles Leclerc was the second best. But we're going to be running through all the drivers, and we're going to start, of course, with the champion. His sixth world title. Who can stop this guy? Literally, who can stop him in his quest for glory? Is he going to match Schumacher and everything he's done? Let me know your thoughts on that. I don't generally think he's going to get there, but he's going to have a hell of a scrap this year. I think the Red Bulls are going to be up there with him. But this man has just been sublime. 250 race starts. He's one of the elders on the grid now, which is strange to say. We saw him coming through with the McLaren team in them early days. But yeah, his performance is just on another level to the rest of the field. Max is getting there. Charles Leclerc has definitely got the pace. Sebastian seems to have fallen away from him slightly. He seems to be in a bit of a class of his own at this present time. I think we're going to see a change in the guards. Here we can see Lewis Hamilton having some fun downtime, meeting Rossi, who he's good friends with, and they actually got a driver swap as well. So Lewis Hamilton got to get out on the MotoGP bike, and there's big rumours about him having an accident as well. But he come out of that unscathed. So Lewis said, "I'm so grateful to the team. Who would have thought at the end of this year we would have this strength in the race? Even though we had the championship won, we just wanted to keep our head down and extract more from this beautiful car." And it's sad we have to say goodbye to all of these machines. Remember, at the end of the year, pretty much they get thrown out for a demo run and this and that, but they don't get utilized anymore. And the amount of research, the development, the thought process, the work, the tireless work which goes into these cars, and then they just pretty much start again. These ones go into like storage, and yes, another season. So Lewis says she has been a special car this year. He's really felt at one with that car and really managed it when he needed to. Of course, it's been a really tough year with the loss of the great Niki Lauda, who really led this team from the ground up when it came to fruition. But Lewis Hamilton, I'm going to have to give him a solid 9 in terms of his results this year. I can't give him a perfect 10, I wouldn't say, but a really solid job from the champ. And he's down for hard racing. Valtteri Bottas, it was like Bottas 2.0, remember? What did he have for breakfast, etc. at the start of the year? Really great start for the flying Finn, but the wheels really fell off his championship pretty soon, and he was playing catch up for the rest of the year to Lewis Hamilton. And yeah, he's got to be looking over his shoulder. I think George Russell is probably the biggest threat to his career at the Mercedes team. Let me know your thoughts. Does Valtteri Bottas deserve that seat, and will he challenge again for a World Drivers' Championship? We can see here in qualifying it was 14-7 to Lewis, 15-6 during the races, and the points, you can see there's a big gulf there between the two drivers, and the Q3s it finished level there. So yeah, pretty interesting. DNFs, we had 2 to Bottas, to Lewis's 0. But yeah, great start to your championship, Valtteri Bottas. You really done the work when you needed to get that contract for next season. Yeah, but what do we think for the future? I don't think he should be there. I think we should be bringing a young driver in, developing in them, and giving them the chance to take that, that Mercedes by the horns. Moving on to the Red Bull team, what a year it's been. That Honda, that relationship with the team has really, really blossomed, you'd have to say, like comparing it to the McLaren days when they really struggled with the Honda setup, probably the communication, just the cultural aspect of it. But Aston Martin, Red Bull Racing, hats off to you. You've really integrated yourselves well with the engine partner, and I think they're only going to get stronger. They're going to have to be watching out for them in 2020. I think they're going to be, from the start of the championship, they will be there or thereabouts. We know Adrian Newey is going to be focusing more on the car now as well. But for moving on to Max Verstappen in particular, better season for him, less sort of erratic driving, more calculated, just solid lap times. And this guy is going to be a threat for the World Drivers' Championship in 2020. Quote me on that next year. Overall, it's been a positive season, and to be P3 in the championship is a nice ending. We're all working hard, but it's also good to take some time off, be with the family and friends, and be recharged for next year and come back stronger, and expect a really strong Max Verstappen for next year. Alexander Albon, he's got that seat for next year, so he's going to really have to, support his teammates in the fight for the championship. But Max Verstappen, what do we give him as a rating for this season? I'm going to have to give him a solid... I'm going to say an 8. I think there is room for improvement. There was a few instances where he could have kept his nose a bit cleaner. We saw that in the likes of Spa, for instance. But I expect big things. Challenge for the championship next year, Max. And 2021 is going to be the big joker card for everyone. So he got 3 race victories this season, and some really good ones as well. He dominated Lewis Hamilton when it came to the Brazilian Grand Prix. Really put pressure on him when he had to. And yeah, being consistent years. So hats off to you, Max Verstappen. Moving on to Ferrari, and we're going to start with Charles Leclerc, who's led this team pretty much from the start of the year. He's brought the joy back to the Tifosi in the Italian Grand Prix. And a good season, 21 races, 2 wins, 7 pole positions, which is a big stat for me, and 10 podiums as well. He's been unfortunate in the likes of Bahrain, where he could have got that early win under his belt, and you never know what could have happened with his season there, because he would have been at the forefront of the fight. But a real good, solid start to life at Ferrari. He's established himself, in my opinion, as the number 1 driver, the more pacey driver, the more consistent driver as well. Sebastian Vettel, on the other hand, he's had a real iffy season. Remember, he's lost his friend, Antoine Hubert, this season as well. It's been a tough life in the motorsport, because, his friend Bianchi down this. But this guy still goes out, delivers them performances, and is a real humble guy. I'm really starting to like Charles Leclerc more and more. Every time I see him, he's racecraft. He's a good driver, and we've got a beautiful future with him and Max Verstappen. They're going to be locking horns at the front of the grid with the Ferrari combination. So I'm extremely happy about this year. I learned a huge amount thanks to Seb. It's been a realization of a dream since childhood to be in F1, especially with Ferrari. Now it's up to me to work and get better, and to deliver the success to them that they deserve. And that's the humble nature of him. He's come in, he's got a job, keeps his head down, doesn't do any stupid shit. And I like this guy a lot. So 10 podium finishes is a big stat for this year. He's been there consistent at the forefront. We saw that disaster in Brazil, of course, with his teammates. But 9 times out of 10, he's getting there. He looks like a Max Verstappen from a year or 2 ago. He's got a few mistakes in him, but he's got the overall pace. So he just needs to iron out the mistakes, get that calculated head. And this guy is a world champion in the making. So let's have a look at a few of the stats between the 2 drivers. So in qualifying, it was 12-9 to Leclerc, and on the races, it was 9-12 to Sebastian. In terms of points, Leclerc come home with 24 more points, and a pretty even season. It didn't feel like that for me. It felt like Charles Leclerc really had in terms of the rubber agreeing with the pace throughout the year. This was the story pretty much for me of Sebastian Vettel's year, and spin me right round, baby, right round, because that was it. We never really got it hooked up. I think the car probably didn't suit his driving style. Something was amiss this year, and it was not the Sebastian Vettel, 4-time world champion that we've known. So yeah, what's your thoughts on Sebastian Vettel this year? Is he going to get stronger? Is he going to bounce back in 2020? Can we see him fighting Lewis tooth and nail at every Grand Prix? I think Lewis is done him mentally, in all honesty. But what do you think on that? Do you think he's a spent force? He's going to drop down the grid soon? And should Ferrari keep him on for another few years? Because it's going to be interesting in 2021. There are going to be a lot of movers and shakers in the sport. But yeah, for me, too many mistakes, Sebastian Vettel. I'm only going to give you, for a rating, I'm going to give you a 5 this year because I expect so much better. And you must do better come 2020 if you're going to stay in this sport for the longevity. So, yeah, just a 5 rating for Sebastian Vettel. Let me know if you think I'm a bit too harsh with that. We saw with the one race victory, was it? That was at Singapore. We kind of stole it as well. We saw some races stolen from him at Canada, which really deflated his ego. And it took him a good 4 or 5 races to build that confidence again, get the pace within the car and step it up to another level once again. So disappointing year, Sebastian Vettel. I'd like to see you do a lot better next year. So we're going to move on now, and we're going to move on to the Toro Rosso boys. In particular, Toro Rosso boys, we're talking Alexander Albon, who started life as a Toro Rosso, and he became the Rookie of the Year. This guy, first year in the sport, learning the tracks, learning these cars, and it was really just low-key, really enjoying the experience, and he stepped up now into the big Red Bull team because of that. He's been humble and really quick as well, I'd say. So I'm really enjoying working with the team, and he can't wait for 2020. He was very unlucky in Brazil when it looked like he was going to get a solid podium. We can see here it was 8-1 in qualifying where Max has got the edge on him, but racing it was 5-4, and the points weren't too dissimilar either. So Alexander Albon, I'm going to have to give you a solid 8 for this year. I think there's room for improvement, and I expect to see better. Now you're going to be in this car, you're going to become accustomed to it. Hopefully you're going to close that distance to Max Verstappen in terms of pace. And yeah, it's your seat to lose now, Alex. It doesn't look like he's got any real competition. So let's see what 2020 holds for him. So moving on to McLaren, what a comeback it's been after years in wilderness and completely nowhere under the guidance of a great champion, Fernando Alonso. They've gone for this youth setup with the Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris making his way up the ranks. And it's been a tremendous year, a real feel-good energy amongst the team. And Carlos Sainz has really led it. He's guided Lando Norris. He's been a bit of a mentor, but a friend at the same time, a bigger brother, you could say. And yeah, it's been beautiful for them to come where they have in the championship. Carlos Sainz has scored 96 points this year. He's the champion of Formula 1.5, we call it. The team's outside the top 3. And yeah, they've blitzed the likes of Renault, who we expected to be strong this year. Remember, they're using the customer engine as well in that car. They've signed a deal to go back to Mercedes power in the future. But Carlos Sainz, one of the standout drives for me this year, bringing home 96 points for the team and just being a real funny guy, a real feel-good guy with Lando Norris in that team. So that's probably my favorite team so far this year. Favorite driver pairing, definitely for sure. Definitely watch McLaren Unboxed and videos like that, because these two, they have top banter all day. Lando Norris really putting the graft in, keeping his head down during the race weekends. Been quick in qualifying, been unstuck in the opening phases of this season in terms of Grand Prix results. But I'm going to give, Carlos Sainz, I'm going to give him, I think, a solid 9 this year. And I'll give you, Lando, probably a 7. Room for improvement. And yeah, I think great talent there, great speed in the car. And you're going to do great things this year. So it's 11-10 to Norris in qualifying, 8-13 to Sainz, and the points we know. But for a rookie season, it was a really good one for Lando Norris. On to the Red Bull family once again. And it's been a bit of a soap opera with Christian Horner, Dietrich, and the rest of them making the shots, calling them decisions. And so there's no plans to replace Pierre this season. That was a quote from the Red Bull boss. But we saw him back in the Toro Rosso, where he felt at home. You know, he went straight back there. He felt good again, and he started putting in some magnificent performances. We saw that race with Lewis at the end of the championship at Brazil, and Pierre Gasly found himself once again. You can see the distance there, crossing the line on the last lap. Beautiful scenes there. Pierre Gasly, you've made a remarkable comeback this year. I would have given you a solid probably 5 for the start of the year in the big Red Bull team, but the way you bounced back, I think we're going to give you a 7 out of 10 overall. What did you make of the fiasco? Was it right? Is it destroying drivers? It's the Red Bull way. We know it is. They're not afraid to do it, but they've got a lack of options now. So hopefully Alexander Albon comes good for them. Pierre Gasly looks like he's going to remain there for the foreseeable future. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Good season so far. So racing against Danny Kvyat, it finished 7-2 to Gasly. In terms of races, it was 5-4 to Pierre Gasly, and then in points, Pierre Gasly got quite a few more. Let's move on to the Renault boys. And Daniel Ricciardo, he made his move to the Renault team alongside Nico Hülkenberg, and it really wasn't a good year. There was some promising signs early on in the championship, but then they both switched off, didn't they, in the Bahrain Grand Prix? And it just wasn't a real solid, real great package. If you want to compare it to like a McLaren, for instance, it was never there or thereabouts. So they've ditched Ocon for the upcoming year. We've got this map, number 31. You might recognize that number as Ocon. Ocon is coming back. The French driver is coming to a French team. And he's cut ties now with Mercedes. So it finished 14-7, Ricciardo's favour, 12-9 in the racing. And Danny Ricciardo, solid first year, but I think he's real bang down to earth with a bang. It's going to be a real tricky year. So I'll give you Danny Rick probably. I'll give you a 7 out of 10. It's been there or thereabouts, but you've been let down by the car and yourself a few times. Nico Hülkenberg got driver of the day. The team's voted for him at the end of the championship because he's leaving. And thank you, Nico, for your time in the sport. You've been a bit of a journeyman there or thereabouts, never really cutting your teeth at the front. So it's only fair. Give the opportunity to a younger driver. Some words.
And Nico, just a word. Thanks very much. It's been a great 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Slady. I wish I could say the same, mate.
Perfect.
Just pulling your leg, mate. Thank you for everything.
177 races.
So sad to see him go, but new opportunities on the horizon.
Nico Hülkenberg, I wish we'd have seen him on the podium. I really do.
Disappointing end to the career of Nico Hülkenberg in Formula One as we know it. I'm going to have to give you a 6 out of 10, buddy. It pains me to do so, but I wish you the best of luck in your future of motorsport. So moving into the Danny Kvyat, get on to Danny Kvyat. He's had a good season so far. He's had a good season, and I'll give him probably a 7 or an 8. Let's go with an 8 to be generous to him. Good early rounds of the championship. He was ahead of his teammate in Alexander Albon. Red Bull decided to have a closer look at Albon because they know this guy, Danny Kvyat. He's been in the big team. I'll give you an 8 out of 10. Well done for this year. One of the best in F1. Remember, he was up on the podium. Where is it? In Germany. A great drive from him. So let's move on to the Racing Point lads. Good performance for them this year, considering there was compromise with their finances and the takeover, everything that happened. It really hampered their research and development for this year. So good strides towards the later stages. Expect them to be a solid midfield package come 2020 to be around the likes of the Renault, for instance. Good season. We're going to move on to the drivers. So we're going to go to Sergio Perez. Sergio, I'm going to give you a 7 because I expect better of you. The car wasn't under. It's a bit unfair. Lance Stroll, again, he's been pretty decent this year. Qualifying, you need to sort out, mate. Otherwise, you'd be thereabouts. So I give you 6. That's not being too critical. So 18 to 3 in qualifying, 16 to 5 in the race for Checo Perez, who brought home double the points there with 52 points. So let me know your thoughts on the Racing Point. Will we see a resurgence now that they've got a bit more cash in their pockets come 2020? So let's go on to Alpha. They looked quite radical, their design in the pre-season testing. Everyone was like, when they saw this. Very different. Kimi Raikkonen really faded in the tail end of this season. I'm going to give you Kimi Raikkonen, and it pays me to do so. Give you a 6. Antonio Giovinazzi, low expectations coming into the year. I also give you a 6. Scored some points. Got some confidence within yourself once again. So don't take it as a bad 6, but 6 out of 10. On to the Haas boys. Car looked pretty quick in pre-season testing. Looked like a good package. Sounded beautiful as well. We've had problems with their car throughout the year. They can't understand it, couldn't get it set up, and this is one that should be scrapped. Gunther Steiner really pulling his hair out. He's had problems with the drivers, now problem with the car, and really need to just rip up the form book. So Magnussen got 20 points to Grosjean. He only got 8. It's a very disappointing year one to forget for Haas. If they have another like this, don't expect them to be hanging around for 2021. I think they'll be long gone. We had this debacle with the sponsor, Rich Energy, who just a joke of a company. K-Mag, you stuck in there. Really tough year for you. I'm going to give you a 7 out of 10. Roman Grosjean, on the other hand, I'm going to probably give you a 5 out of 10. I don't want to see you in the sport anymore. I make no secret that I hate this guy. I think he's a waste of talent in the sport. And Nico Hulkenberg, for instance, could have had that chair. So let me know your thoughts. We've got Fittipaldi as well, who's been testing. He's one I would like to see in the car in the number 51. Yeah, should Grosjean be given another chance? I think this year it's now or never for you, Grosjean. And yeah, I think a 5 out of 10 is fair play. Robert Kubica, it was his swan song, his test, his comeback from that remarkable injury, but called it time.
Thank you everyone for the season, or actually 2 seasons. It wasn't easy, but yeah, good job guys, thank you. And
so struggled through with a few things.
Thank you, Robert.
The car itself, the lack of components, his driving style, it was hampered by the accessibility, like the nature of trying to handle the car with the steering wheel, using about 70% on one hand to 30 on the other. You can see qualifying 21-0 to Russell. Racing was 17-4 in terms of Russell's favour as well. And we've got another young driver coming into the sport again. So we've got Latifi taking the place of Robert Kubica. Sad to see Kubica go, but at the same time, I think, yeah, great decision to make, bringing a young driver. So, yeah, Russell, at the end of the year, he managed to get to test the Merc, the championship-winning car, and that was just, I think, a payment for that season of torment and torture, being at the back of the grid, being able to get into Lewis's car pretty much and just lash it round. That must have been something to behold. So, yeah, well-deserved. George Russell, I'd like to see him in the Mercedes if they're in the sport, which I'm dubious about in the future. I'm going to give you a solid, what are we just going to say, Russell? We'll give you a 7 out of 10 this year. But what was your thoughts on the championship? What was your favourite race? Who was your favourite rookie of the season? Not the best. Lando Norris was probably my favourite rookie, but the best one would probably fall to the other guy, Alexander Albon. What do you make of the 2021 cars? And check me out in preseason testing. We're going to be over there for the Barcelona test on day 1, which I think is the 19th. We'll be there. We've got a paddock pass as well, so we're going to get backstage, hopefully bump into a few drivers, maybe engineers, people from Sky Sports, etc. So we're going to be we can't be doing live streams on YouTube anymore. They've stopped that. So we'll be doing regular uploads throughout the day over there, but we'll be doing some live videos on the Facebook platform. So get over to the F1 2020 discussion group. Join the Facebook page to get your live updates from the preseason test. I'd like to thank you all for watching the video. Give me a like, subscribe, and sorry it's been this long. We're going to get back to more regular content on the channel, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.